When I was 18, my parents handed me a wrinkled 20 and said, my sister deserved the future, not me. No whisper, no hesitation, just a verdict in the rain. My father's voice was steel. My mother's hand was cold, and the door clicked shut behind me like the world had decided I wasn't worth keeping. I stood there soaked to the bone, suitcase at my feet, the porch light dying above me. 5 years later, that same light flickered again. Only this time I was the one behind the desk. And my sister was the one asking for a chance. Before I tell you how the circle closed, tell me, where are you listening from? So I know I'm not the only one who's ever been told they didn't deserve a future. Our house in Bloomington always smelled like lemon cleaner and engine oil. My mother obsessed over appearances and my father obsessed over control. From the outside we looked normal. Inside we were a hierarchy built on quiet rules. My sister Leah at the top, me somewhere beneath the fold. Dad, Martin Avery, ran an auto shop and believed suffering was the only proof of worth. Mom Lane kept the books the same way she kept her emotions. Organized, cold, and without room for mistakes. And Leah, she was their miracle. Beautiful, charming, studying PR with a perfect smile that matched every expectation they had for her. In that house, every compliment bent toward her like light bending toward its source. I learned early that my place was the folding chair at the edge of the dinner table. Cold metal, unsteady legs, and always easy to put away. When Leah turned 16, she got a used Honda with a red ribbon. I got a bookstore gift card. You love reading, right? Mom asked. I swallowed the bitterness and said thank you. But everything changed the day the envelope arrived. Blue University seal. My hands shook as I tore it open. Congratulations, scholarship. Indiana State. For a moment I believed the script might finally change. That evening I held the letter like a flag. I got in, I said. I can cover most of it, but Dad didn't even lower the newspaper. We can't pay for 2 tuitions. Be realistic. Mom didn't look up either. Leah's pre-law is already expensive. I can work, I insisted. I can cover the rest. Dad finally met my eyes, voice sharp as a blade. Then cover all of it. You're 18, Scarlet. Time to be independent. And that was that. Leah murmured, she's overreacting. And somehow that tiny word was the fuse that lit everything I'd buried. You've never once asked what I want, I said, my voice shaking but clear. The kitchen went still. Mom reached into her purse and placed a single wrinkled $20 bill in my palm. Be independent, she said. That night I packed 1 suitcase, a few notebooks, the acceptance letter folded into my jacket. Rain hit the roof like applause as I walked out. Leah watched from the window. She didn't wave. And that's how it began. With thunder swallowing my name. The first night alone taught me how cold metal can feel. The bus stop bench was slick with rain. The 20 in my pocket already softening at the edges. I read my acceptance letter again and again, the ink blurring like it was trying to disappear. I told myself I'd find a room, a job, anything. But by the second night, fever fogged my vision and breathing felt like swallowing ice. Cars passed, throwing dirty water across my legs, and I curled deeper into the jacket I didn't remember buttoning. A voice broke through the storm. Hey, you okay? A man in his 50s, gray hair, soft eyes. David Reed. He put his jacket around me, called an ambulance, and didn't leave until they took me away. In the hospital, the nurse clipped a tag on my wrist. Name, Scarlet Avery. Address, unknown. That word hit harder than pneumonia. 2 days later, they discharged me with a pamphlet for Haven House. The building was wedged between a laundromat and a pawn shop, but inside was warmth. Ruth Nolan, the woman who ran it, looked me straight in the eye. 1 bed, 1 lock, 1 chance to rebuild. So I rebuilt. I scrubbed floors, cleaned bathrooms, folded sheets until my hands cracked from bleach. I saved meal vouchers, booked for work. Slowly, routine replaced fear. Then one afternoon, Ruth pinned a flyer on the board. Help wanted, Alvarez's Diner. I showed up the next morning with borrowed shoes and a borrowed hope. Elena Alvarez glanced at my thrift store coat and the fading hospital band on my wrist. You ever wait tables? She asked. No, I admitted. But I learned fast. She tossed me an apron. Start with the syrup bottles. Days turned into weeks. The clatter of dishes became a heartbeat I understood. My arms ached, my feet blistered, but it was the first time exhaustion felt clean. I learned everything. Which customers tipped. Which didn't. When supplies ran out, How deliveries got delayed. I kept a small notebook in my apron, scribbling down patterns no one else noticed. Lena saw it all. The world runs on chaos, she said once. People like you keep it moving. When Ben Carter, the delivery driver, showed up late again, I reorganized the entire delivery schedule on a stack of napkins. Elena read it in silence, then tucked it into her apron. Keep thinking like that. Within a year, I was handling more logistics at that diner than the manager of a grocery store. When Ben told me Everline Freight was hiring a clerk, I almost laughed. They won't hire someone like me, I said. Try, he insisted. So I did. The manager, Tom Whitaker, read my resume, 2 pages of diner work that still smelled like coffee, and said, "You've got no degree. But you've got instinct. That's rarer." That sentence changed my life. Everline was where I discovered my talent wasn't just surviving chaos. I could build order out of it. I redesigned routes, rewrote systems, solved problems before anyone else even recognized them. And slowly, the girl who slept at a bus stop became the woman companies called when their operations fell apart. 5 years after being handed that wrinkled 20, I founded Emerge Operations Group. 1 desk, a second-hand laptop, and every lesson loneliness had taught me. By 23, companies across Seattle were hiring me to fix what they couldn't understand. My office had floor-to-ceiling windows, a skyline view, and 3 framed reminders on the wall. The hospital wristband, the $20 bill, and the acceptance letter that never had a chance. I had turned unknown address into an empire. Then my HR manager, Maya, walked in one morning. "New applicant for the coordinator position," she said. "Leah Avery." The world went quiet. Tuesday morning, rain tapping the glass in a soft echo of the night I left. Leah walked into my office. Same perfect posture. Same careful smile. She didn't recognize me. Not the version of me sitting behind the executive desk she'd never imagined I'd reach. "This is Miss Scarlet Avery," Maya announced. The name hit her like a blow. Her eyes drifted to the framed $20. Recognition split her expression open. "Scarlet," she whispered. "We're here to discuss your qualifications," I said evenly. She tried to speak, but her voice trembled. He talked about teamwork, fairness, leadership. Words she'd learned in textbooks, not in life. "What does fairness mean to you?" I asked. "It means everyone deserves the same chance," she replied. "Everyone," I repeated. Her eyes flicked again to the frames. A lifetime flashed across her face. The car she got at 16, the gift card I got instead, the kitchen where they told me to be realistic, the window she watched me from while rain swallowed everything I was. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "We were told you left." I didn't know the truth. "You didn't ask," I said quietly. "Silence can be its own cruelty." She nodded, swallowing hard. Are you going to hire me?" "That depends," I said. "Can you work in a place where fairness is real, not just a word?" "I can try." "Then you have a chance." When she left, Maya stepped in. "Should we move forward?" "Yes," I said. "Everyone deserves a chance. Even the ones who denied you yours." That evening, I stood by the window, looking at the rain streaking down the glass like silver threads. For the first time, the sound didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like closure. Weeks later, when Leah showed up early for her first day, she stopped me in the hallway. "Thank you," she murmured, "for giving me a future." I nodded. "Earn it." Sometimes forgiveness isn't soft. Sometimes it's a boundary. A new beginning built on old wounds finally healing. A month later, I drove back to Bloomington. The bus stop was still there. Same dented bench. Same flickering light. I placed the framed $20 on the seat, alongside a small bouquet. "This is where they ended me," I whispered. "And where I began." The air smelled like wet pavement and second chances. Because every person told they didn't deserve a future deserves to know they were lied to. If this story found you, share it. And tell me, where are you listening from? You're not alone.